Reddick, Florida, June 9, 2024. A date etched in the memory of this small town, a date that marked a brutal violation of innocence and trust. This is where it happened, where a 91-year-old woman, a cherished member of this close-knit community, became the victim of an unspeakable crime. This is the story of Jesse Stone, a 14-year-old boy who shattered the peace of Reddick and forever altered the course of many lives. In the quiet of the night, awoken from her sleep, she found herself face to face with an intruder, someone she knew, someone she had trusted, Jesse Stone. Sheriff Billy Woods, a seasoned law enforcement officer, took on the case with unwavering determination. He and his team of investigators meticulously pieced together the evidence, vowing to bring the perpetrator to justice. The investigation led them to Jesse Stone, a seemingly ordinary teenager, a student at North Marion Middle School. But the DNA evidence told a different story. Confronted with the evidence, Jesse initially denied any involvement, but the truth began to unravel. Present during the interrogation, Jesse's grandmother made a heart-wrenching plea. She urged him to confess, to take responsibility for his actions. And then the confession. A chilling account of a brutal attack. A betrayal of trust that shook the community to its core. Jesse Stone pleaded guilty to the charges of assault and rape. He was charged as an adult, facing the full consequences of his actions. The victim, her life forever altered, showed incredible courage in the face of unimaginable trauma. She faced her attacker in court, her voice a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The case of Jesse Stone is a dark chapter in the history of Reddick, Florida. It's a story that forces us to confront the complexities of human nature and the devastating consequences of violence. But it's also a story of courage, resilience, and the pursuit of justice. It was just past midnight. The victim was asleep in her bed. The night was quiet. The only sounds the gentle hum of the refrigerator and the chirping of crickets outside her window. But that tranquility was about to be shattered. Jesse Stone, a mere 14 years old, had been lurking outside 91-year-old woman's home. He had been there earlier that day, engaging in casual conversation with her, just as he had done many times before. But this time, something was different. This time, he had a plan. Jesse had entered 91-year-old woman's home through an unlocked door. He crept through the house, his footsteps barely audible on the carpeted floor. He found her iPad and began watching pornography, his mind consumed by images he didn't fully understand. 91-year-old woman awoke to a sound, a presence in her room. She saw a figure standing in the darkness, and her heart pounded with fear. Before she could react, Jesse was upon her. He punched her in the face, the force of the blow sending shockwaves through her frail body. She cried out, but her voice was muffled by his hand. He continued to assault her, his rage fueled by a twisted sense of power and control. 91-year-old woman fought back with all her might, but she was no match for her young attacker. She prayed for help, for someone to hear her cries, for this nightmare to end. But Jesse was relentless. After what seemed like an eternity, Jesse fled the scene, leaving 91-year-old woman battered and broken. She lay on her bed, her body racked with pain, her mind reeling from the horror she had just endured. But amidst the chaos and despair, a spark of resilience ignited within her. With trembling hands, she reached for the phone. She dialed 911, her voice shaking as she reported the attack. Help was on its way. But the question remained, who was this monster who had violated her home and her body? The first responders arrived at 91-year-old woman's home to a scene of chaos. The front door was ajar, lights were on in the disarrayed house, and a chilling silence hung in the air. 91-year-old woman, though clearly traumatized, was able to give a brief account of the attack. She described her assailant as a young man, someone she knew from the neighborhood, but she couldn't recall his name. The crime scene was immediately secured. Every detail, no matter how small, was documented and photographed. Fingerprints were dusted, blood samples were collected, and any potential weapons were carefully bagged and tagged. The investigators were determined to leave no stone unturned in their pursuit of justice for the woman. The lead detective on the case, a seasoned veteran with a reputation for tenacity, began interviewing 91-year-old woman's neighbors. He knocked on doors, asking if anyone had seen or heard anything unusual that night. He showed them a photo lineup of young men who lived in the area, hoping someone could identify the attacker. One neighbor, a woman who lived across the street from the woman, recalled seeing a young man on a bicycle near the woman's house around the time of the attack. She couldn't be certain, but she thought it might be Jesse Stone, a boy who often visited Elsie and helped her with chores around the house. The detective's interest was piqued. He knew Jesse Stone. He had interviewed him just a few days prior, when Jesse had reported seeing a suspicious person in the neighborhood. At the time, Jesse had seemed helpful and concerned, even offering to provide surveillance footage from his home security camera. But now, with this new information, the detective began to see Jesse in a different light. Could this seemingly harmless teenager be the perpetrator of such a horrific crime? He decided to pay Jesse another visit, this time with a warrant to search his home and collect DNA evidence. The investigation was intensifying, the net closing in on a suspect. But would the evidence be enough to bring 91-year-old woman's attacker to justice? I know this was a heavy one, but these stories need to be told. If you're feeling it, give this video a thumbs up and share it to spread awareness. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and join our true crime community. For those of you who've been here a while, you know I appreciate you. Thanks for sticking around. While detectives pursued leads in the neighborhood, forensic specialists were hard at work analyzing the evidence collected from 91-year-old woman's home. Every fiber, every hair, every drop of blood held the potential to unlock the mystery of the attacker's identity. But it was the DNA evidence that would prove to be the most crucial piece of the puzzle. DNA, the very blueprint of life, is unique to each individual. It's found in every cell of our bodies, and it leaves a trace wherever we go. For forensic scientists, DNA is a powerful tool capable of linking a suspect to a crime scene with remarkable accuracy. In the woman's case, DNA samples were collected from her bedding, her clothing, and her body. These samples were then compared to a database of known offenders, as well as to DNA collected from potential suspects. The process was painstaking, requiring meticulous attention to detail and rigorous scientific analysis. And then, a match. The DNA profile from the crime scene matched a sample taken from Jesse Stone. The probability of this being a coincidence was astronomical. The evidence was clear. Jesse Stone had been in 91-year-old woman's home, and his DNA was present at the scene of the crime. The detective couldn't believe it. Jesse Stone, the seemingly innocent teenager who had offered to help with the investigation, was now the prime suspect. The realization sent a chill down his spine. He had been deceived, manipulated by a young man capable of unimaginable violence. The detective knew he had to act quickly. Jesse Stone was a danger to the community, and he needed to be brought into custody. But how would Jesse react when confronted with the DNA evidence? Would he confess, or would he continue to deny his involvement? The stakes were high, and the detective knew that the next few hours would be crucial in bringing 91-year-old woman's attacker to justice. Who was Jesse Stone? To most in Reddick, he was just another face in the crowd. A 14-year-old student at North Marion Middle School, he blended in with the other kids. He rode his bike around town, played video games, and occasionally got into minor trouble, like any typical teenager. He wasn't a star athlete, nor was he a standout student. He seemed to exist in that in-between space, neither popular nor outcast. He had a few close friends, but mostly kept to himself. There was nothing remarkable about him, nothing that would suggest he was capable of the horrific crime he had committed. But beneath this veneer of normalcy, something darker was stirring within Jesse. He had a troubled home life, with an absent father and a mother who struggled to provide for him and his siblings. He had been in and out of foster care, bouncing between homes and schools, never quite finding a place to belong. Jesse had a history of anger issues and impulsive behavior. He had been suspended from school for fighting, and he had a reputation for being quick to lash out when frustrated. He had also been exposed to pornography at a young age, which may have distorted his understanding of sexuality and consent. But none of this fully explained his actions. Why would a 14-year-old boy brutally attack a 91-year-old woman? What drove him to commit such a heinous crime? Was it a momentary lapse in judgment, a surge of uncontrolled rage, or something more sinister lurking beneath the surface? The interrogation began with the standard procedure. Jesse was read his Miranda rights, informed of his right to remain silent, and to have an attorney present. He waived his rights, perhaps underestimating the gravity of the situation or overestimating his ability to deceive the investigators. "Jesse, we have some evidence that places you at the scene of the crime," the detective began. "We found your DNA on the victim's bedding." Jesse's eyes widened in surprise. He stammered, denying any involvement. "I don't know how that's possible," he insisted. "I wasn't there." "We have you on camera, Jesse," the detective continued. "We know you were there. It's time to tell the truth." The interrogation continued for hours. Jesse's grandmother, his legal guardian, was present throughout the ordeal. She watched in anguish as her grandson, the boy she had raised and loved, was confronted with the evidence of his horrific crime. As the interrogation wore on, Jesse's denials began to crumble. The weight of the evidence was overwhelming, and the detective's relentless questioning chipped away at his resolve. But it was his grandmother's intervention that ultimately broke through his defenses. "Jesse," she pleaded, "please tell the truth. I know this is hard, but you need to be honest. It's the only way to make things right." And then, the confession. In a halting voice, Jesse admitted to breaking into 91-year-old woman's home, to attacking her, to violating her in the most horrific way imaginable. He described the events of that night, his words painting a chilling picture of violence and depravity. Jesse's confession was a turning point in the case. It provided the final piece of the puzzle, confirming his guilt and bringing 91-year-old woman one step closer to justice. But it also raised a host of new questions. Why did Jesse do it? What drove him to commit such a heinous crime? And what would become of him now? Jesse's grandmother, a woman who had dedicated her life to raising him, providing a stable home in the absence of his parents, found herself in an impossible situation. She loved her grandson deeply, but she also knew the importance of truth and justice. Torn between her loyalty to family and her commitment to what was right, she made a decision that would change the course of Jesse's life. "Jesse," she began, her voice filled with a mix of love and anguish, "I know you're scared, but you need to tell the truth. You need to be honest about what happened." Her words cut through the tension in the room. They were not the words of an enabler, protecting her grandson at all costs. They were the words of a woman grappling with a moral dilemma. A woman who understood the gravity of Jesse's actions and the need for accountability. This woman, 91-year-old woman, she deserves the truth. She deserves justice. And you, Jesse, you deserve a chance to make things right. Her words were a powerful catalyst. They pierced through Jesse's denials, forcing him to confront the reality of his actions. He saw the pain in his grandmother's eyes, the disappointment and the unwavering love. He realized he could no longer hide from the truth. The grandmother's plea was a pivotal moment in the interrogation. It was a testament to the power of love and the importance of moral guidance, even in the face of unimaginable circumstances. But it also raised a difficult question. Was it ethical for her to urge her grandson to confess, potentially incriminating himself? Was the grandmother's plea an act of love or a betrayal of trust? Did she prioritize justice over family loyalty, or was she simply trying to guide her grandson towards redemption? These are questions that continue to be debated even today. After his grandmother's emotional plea, the dam broke. Jesse, overwhelmed by guilt and the weight of the evidence against him, finally confessed to the horrific crime he had committed. His words, halting and hesitant at first, gradually gained momentum as he recounted the events of that night. "I went to her house. I didn't mean to hurt her. I just wanted to look at her iPad. I saw the pornography. I didn't know what I was doing." He described how he had entered 91-year-old woman's home through an unlocked door, how he had found her iPad and started watching pornography, how he had panicked when he realized she was awake. He admitted to punching her, to assaulting her, to violating her in the most brutal way imaginable. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I just lost control. I'm so sorry. I wish I could take it all back." Jesse's confession was a difficult but necessary step towards justice. It provided a glimpse into the mind of a young man who had committed a horrific crime, revealing a complex mix of confusion, anger, and regret. But it also left many questions unanswered. What led Jesse down this dark path? Was it his troubled upbringing, his exposure to pornography, or something deeper, something more sinister lurking within him? And what would become of him now that he had confessed to such a heinous crime? Jesse Stone's confession set in motion a series of legal proceedings that would determine his fate. He was charged with sexual battery and burglary, serious felonies that carried the potential for a lengthy prison sentence. Due to the severity of the crime and the vulnerability of the victim, the state attorney's office decided to charge Jesse as an adult, despite his young age. The case sparked a heated debate in the community and beyond. Some argued that Jesse, despite his age, should be held fully accountable for his actions and face the full consequences of the law. Others expressed concern about the long-term impact of incarceration on a young person, advocating for rehabilitation and a focus on addressing the root causes of his behavior. Dr. Janice Stevenson, a renowned child psychologist, weighed in on the case, stating, "While it's crucial to hold young offenders accountable, it's equally important to recognize that their brains are still developing. They are more susceptible to impulsive behavior and poor decision-making. We need to focus on rehabilitation and providing them with the tools they need to become productive members of society." After weeks of legal proceedings, Jesse Stone pleaded guilty to the charges against him. He expressed remorse for his actions and acknowledged the devastating impact he had had on the victim and the community. The judge, taking into account the severity of the crime, Jesse's age, and his guilty plea, sentenced him to a significant prison term. The sentence brought a sense of closure to the victim and her family, but it also left many questions unanswered. Would Jesse receive the rehabilitation he needed to turn his life around? Would he ever truly understand the gravity of his actions and the pain he had caused? And what about the victim, 91-year-old woman? Would she ever fully recover from the trauma she had endured? Jesse Stone's case is a stark reminder that even the most horrific crimes can be committed by those we least expect. It's a story that challenges our assumptions about innocence and guilt, about youth and violence, and about the delicate balance between punishment and rehabilitation. But it's also a story about resilience, about the courage of a victim who refused to be silenced, and about the hope for healing and redemption, even in the face of unimaginable darkness. The case of Jesse Stone and 91-year-old woman left an indelible mark on the community of Reddick, Florida. It shattered the illusion of safety and innocence, forcing residents to confront the reality that even in their quiet corner of the world, darkness could lurk beneath the surface. But amidst the pain and trauma, there was also a remarkable display of resilience and compassion. The community rallied around 91-year-old woman, offering her support and encouragement as she navigated the difficult path to recovery. Support groups were formed, counseling services were offered, and neighbors looked out for one another with renewed vigilance. The case also sparked important conversations about the vulnerability of the elderly, the need for greater awareness of sexual assault, and the complexities of juvenile justice. It highlighted the importance of early intervention and support for young people who may be struggling with anger, trauma, or exposure to harmful influences. 91-year-old woman, despite the unimaginable trauma she endured, emerged as a symbol of strength and resilience. She bravely shared her story, not only to seek justice for herself but also to raise awareness and encourage other victims to come forward. Her courage inspired countless others and helped to break the silence surrounding sexual assault. The case of Jesse Stone is a tragic reminder of the darkness that exists in our world, but it is also a testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome adversity, to heal, and to find hope in the face of unimaginable pain. This story is a call to action. It's a reminder that we all have a role to play in creating safer, more compassionate communities. We need to be vigilant, to look out for one another, and to offer support to those who are vulnerable. We need to educate ourselves about the signs of abuse and be willing to speak up when we see something wrong. And most importantly, we need to believe survivors and offer them the compassion and support they need to heal. If you or someone you know has been affected by sexual assault, please reach out for help. There are resources available and you are not alone. Together, we can create a world where everyone feels safe and supported. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like this video, leave a comment below, and subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories. And most importantly, please share this video to help raise awareness and support survivors of sexual assault.